Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And mamas, welcome to our podcast.
Today's superhero cartoon we're discussing is the early 2000s The Batman.
This incarnation pretty much follows the same formula for Batman. Villains attack Gotham. Batman beats them. Gotham is saved. But we must admit that this series takes quite a few new twists on the villains in each episode.
Mm-hmm. And I think two of the most standout ones would be, Clayface and Poison Ivy.
Yes, definitely. Clayface in this version ends up being Batman's best friend from childhood, which was like, whoa.
Right, it wasn't, because from the other incarnations, it's been was a celebrity who was losing his fame, and the chemicals he used in the stuff turned him into the monster and stuff. And yeah, this one was a whole different one. He had a friend that was on the police force and accidentally got exposed to the chemicals, and then he started, losing it.
Right, so that was an interesting twist. And, in true Batman fashion, he continues to try to help him to return to his original state and never wants to give up on him.
And then Poison Ivy, because some of the heroes were much younger. They had, Robin and Batgirl and Poison Ivy. They were all kids. And seeing this happen to a kid was even kind of traumatizing for this show. It was the same exact backstory, just she's much younger. Like I said, before the live action Gotham.
Right. And
still, the mentality. And this time she was Barbara's friend in here.
Right.
And she turned evil because of an accident. So.
And like in the live action, she's Catwoman's friend. And they took that same trope and had her as a kid, and she suddenly turns into an adult after exposure. So.
Right. So, we didn't know what to expect from this one either, because, one, the title wasn't different. It was just The Batman. You got your same villain, same concept. The city looked different. It looked more, more modern, because they had definitely more technology. The buildings didn't look like they were from the 40s style, like in the original Batman series. It wasn't all futuristic like Batman Beyond. It had its own style. Everyone had their own design, because it wasn't Bruce Timm.
Right.
So they looked a little different. It looked a little weird at first. And even Bruce Wayne looked a little unusual, because we had seen him for one form in many of these different incarnations, and this one looked like, you sure that's Bruce Wayne?
Right. So, and he was voiced by a different actor. We didn't have Kevin Conroy, and we didn't have Bruce Greenwood, so we were kind of shocked. We didn't know this guy. He's Italian. He had a different sound, and I think because of that, they gave him a different look. He looked kind of more like an Italian guy, the way he was drawn. And another difference was his best friend, who was Clayface. Clayface was African American in this version,
right?
As you said, and he was a police officer, and he knew Bruce Wayne in and out. But Bruce didn't know it was Clayface was his friend for the longest,
right?
But the partner that and I don't remember what Clayface's name was in this version.
Yeah, it's been a while. So,
right.
Yeah.
The partner that Clayface had, she figured out who he was. So it was a really different.
It's a whole new character for this one as well. And for they have, of course, Dick Grayson here too. They have Barbara Gordon, but they were like teenagers or even younger.
Right.
Because Robin almost looked like the Teen Titans Robin that we see. He was really close. I think it was right before that show, and he looked almost the same, but he was a little younger. Right. And Batgirl was the same thing. They were pretty much kids.
Right. And then talking about that, there was one episode that stood out. We'll get to later, but this was an interesting series, and we had put off watching this for the longest because it didn't look like something we were familiar with. Right. And finally, you said, let's just watch this and see. And we liked it.
Yeah, and we thought that, it wasn't going to be too much, but we should know by now that DC has some really creative shows, and they give shows to characters you didn't think would ever get any.
True.
Because, in the beginning we got Justice League, or the basic heroes, the most famous ones get their own shows. And then you see later down the line, like Static and Batman Beyond, and now with the Arrowverse, now you got Green Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and all these other characters that were considered, not as important or have to play, unfortunately, second fiddle to the main heroes unless they got episodes focused on them. They get their own show and a shared universe.
Right, definitely. So, let's talk about some of the best things about this show. that stand out versus Batman the animated series, Batman Beyond, just other versions that we've seen.
And well, the good thing about this show is that it always manages to stay different from others. You can never say like, oh, but they did that in the other one, they did that in the other one, they did that in this one, they did it better. Each version they do has its own feel, its own style, way of telling the story, and this one was another one was unexpected because not many people know about this version. I think because it wasn't as famous as the animated series originally and the Batman Beyond and stuff.
Right.
But it was still a good show on its own because they also introduced the villains again, and this time different voice casting. Like Kevin Michael Richardson was the Joker this time.
Right, which was odd. Which was really, really odd.
Right,
yeah.
And he was more monkey-like than Joker-like. And then they did introduce the Justice League later on. They had Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Martian Manhunter. So they got a bit of a spotlight in here too, a mini arc. So Justice League wasn't, the full focus, but they got like near the end of the series, they were made into it.
Right. So I think for most people who see this, it's going to be so unlike any of the other series they've seen that they'll have to get into a few episodes like we did. It took us about 3 episodes to decide that we wanted to finish it. And because like you said, it was really different. We're like, what? What's happening? Who is this? That's not Kevin Conroy, remember?
Right, because it's weird when you hear Batman not voiced by Kevin Conroy because he's done it for so long and he fits so well. And I was like, who is this?
Right.
Who is it? Who are you? Oh, another thing would be, like I said, some of the episode lines, even for one episode, the designs of the characters are really different. Like, Riddler was really creepy looking this time. He wasn't just like the nerdy, know-it-all, with the bowling hat type. He looked like he came back from a goth concert and just started doing villain work. And the episodes were pretty standout too. Oh, and we can't forget they had Adam West as the mayor.
Yes.
Every time they got a Batman series, he's always in it. And it was like another shout out to the original Batman. So he was the voice of the mayor for a little bit.
Right.
And then back to the episodes. There were quite a few episodes that were standout because there were only 3 seasons, right?
Right.
And this is back when we had actual full seasons, not 13 or 6.
And we saw this on Netflix as well.
Right. And not sure if it's still on there anymore.
Unfortunately, it looks like Netflix has just gotten rid of a lot of the DC shows. I think it's because of the DC channel that's coming up on Netflix is going to have Young Justice, which will be an extra charge in addition to the regular monthly charge.
Yeah, like an extra package.
Right, you're going to have to pay for another package in order to see all of these wonderful DC shows.
Oh, okay.
Same thing, we also saw Green Lantern, the animated series on there.
Right.
So, yeah, there were so many different series that they had on Netflix, so...
And the thing, one episode I really remember, they had this guy who was... I guess their version of Clock King, but he was handled really differently. It was due to some accident that happened like many, many years ago, way before he became a villain, and then these chain of events happened. He did something by accident, and these chain of events happened where, his life fell apart and he was bitter.
Right.
And his revenge on Gotham was putting everything in a poisonous gas, and they were trying to race against the clock to beat him. And the crazy part was, he won. They didn't stop him in time. They were unable to do it, and everyone was killed off the whole episode. And it wasn't until near the end when he realized, because of what happened with his son, he realized that what he did was wrong because he also ended up killing his son in the process. Right. And he ended up accidentally wishing himself back in time and, fixing his mistake. Right. And he changed history, so he didn't go to jail. He didn't get the powers. He was normal, and he had the life he wanted. That was crazy. That was one of the few times where the villain won, because he won. The thing went off, and even Batman couldn't stop it. They were all wiped out.
So now that you mentioned that, I did forget, there were some really darker episodes in this series. And the Clayface ones were dark. There wasn't like, on Teen Titans and this where you got Clayface and he's easily captured. No, and here, Clayface was really a master of disguise. He really could look like anyone. And then he was slowly losing his mind of who he was.
Right.
And yeah, they had some really dark episodes in this series.
And And it kind of makes you think back about all these action shows we have from all these stations. And this show, Batman Beyond, Batman series, Young Justice, all these shows we have, Marvel and DC, were action shows. You had bits of comedy in there, and that was fine, but it's clear the state of superhero shows have changed. Now they gotta be all comedy with some action. It's like it's been...
And they talk a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see superhero action. I don't want to see talk me into submission.
Right.
I want to see you make them go into submission.
Right. And like one of those Avengers series or the Hulk show... But they just talk while they fight. They talk while they do this, do that. They got some witty retort, this and then like, would you just shut up and fight? Right. My gosh! But this was, like I said, one of the another underrated show for DC and just for action shows in general. Considering the fact that we barely get any now, you are like Voltron's like was the once in a lifetime thing right now.
Right, true.
But we had so many good action shows from every channel, and Batman was one of them. It was underrated because of all the other stuff that was on, but it was a good addition to DC Universe and another different take on Batman.
Right. So if you haven't seen The Batman, and it's available on Amazon or somewhere for free, we recommend you watch it. You'll be surprised at the storyline, the plot, the arc, and just how really good this is, even with the different voice actors who are doing the main characters we're used to. So, that about wraps it up.
Yep. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.